The movie opens with a man we know for now as Rolf is listening to a tape recorder, sighing deeply and muttering in frustration. In German, he repeatedly echoes the tape, voicing grievances about work.
Some of us have work to do. Typical. It's a joke. They never say what they want, then blame you for not doing it. Bloody joke.
His frustration builds as he mimics and grumbles, imitating the voice on the tape and repeating German phrases with annoyance, walking around in the building. We see a dead man, which indicates that Rolf is a killer. The atmosphere grows tense as Radiohead's Everything in Its Right Place begins. To play, Rolf breathes heavily, grumbles, and moves restlessly. The scene shifts to Munich in German. Rolf then heads to a hotel, where he works as a cleaner. Upon arriving, the security guard greets him, noting his lateness and coughing about Rolf's smoking habit. The guard also comments on Rolf's new rucksack, hinting that there's something unusual about it. As Rolf makes his way through the hotel, swiping his worker's card and using the elevator, the atmosphere grows tense. He converses with a colleague, asking who else is working and where he should start. Receiving vague answers, he continues on his way. Rolf reaches a quiet area, preparing to start cleaning, but unexpectedly pulls a silenced gun from his bag. He then calmly shoots a woman nearby, silencing her instantly. Rolf moves through the hotel methodically, shooting other unsuspecting people but intentionally leaving Elias, a son of Manfred Fest the Foutrunner, to be the next German Chancellor, injured but not dead. The sounds of gunfire, breaking glass, and panicked screams fill the building. As alarms blare and police sirens wail in the distance, Rolf throws a smoke bomb to create chaos and disorientation. Finally, he secures a rope to the top of the building, making his daring escape from the scene. Rolf returns to his apartment undetected, slipping inside as his keys jingle and the door locks behind him. The room is dim, with only the distant hum of city noise outside. He sets down his belongings and unzips his bag, revealing a meticulous array of items. To the viewer's surprise, Rolf, who appeared as an older man, begins to peel away parts of his face. His eyebrows and hair come off first, revealing they were carefully applied prosthetics. He removes the skin-like mask covering his face, revealing a much younger, unrecognizable man underneath. As he removes his dentures, his true features emerge, a transformation that makes him appear entirely different from the man who committed the murders. The following morning, Manfred Fest, the Foutrunner for German Chancellor, is en route to the St. Elizabeth Hospital to visit his son, Elias, who survived an assassination attempt linked to Manfred's controversial anti-immigration stance. Inside the car, Manfred listens to the radio news about the incident, only to demand the driver turn it off. Meanwhile, his assistant updates him on Elias's condition, mentioning the need for another surgery. Manfred dismisses his assistant's concern, urging them to stay composed, showing little outward sympathy. Unbeknownst to Manfred, a sniper, revealed to be Rolf, a professional assassin, is positioned in a distant hotel room, preparing his rifle with precision. Rolf carefully assembles his weapon, testing it with a few quiet shots against a wall, ensuring all elements are in place. In his calm, practiced manner, he awaits his target's arrival, watching the hospital entrance. As Manfred's car pulls up to the hospital, a crowd of protesters gathers, shouting anti-Fest slogans. Security moves quickly, briefing Manfred's team to keep the candidate's entrance within seconds. Just as Manfred exits the car and approaches the hospital doors, Rolf takes aim from afar, breathing steadily to steady his shot. In an instant, a gunshot rings out, hitting Manfred and throwing the scene into chaos. Screams fill the air as the crowd scatters, and sirens blare as the security team attempts to control the situation. Rolf remains composed, swiftly packing his weapon. Before leaving, he plants a bomb in the room to destroy any evidence. He changes cars to evade detection, his exit untraceable. Soon after, officers arrive at the sniper's position only to discover the bomb, which explodes, erasing all forensic evidence. As Rolf's abandoned getaway car erupts in flames outside, the authorities are left with a scene of devastation, and Rolf slips away, completely undetected. The movie shifts to London, where we enter MI6 headquarters, a sleek, high-security facility bustling with activity. Inside, Bianca, a skilled law enforcer focused on tracking dangerous assassins, is examining a new gun brought in by her colleague. He hands her a Russian 2000 mg, noting that it's rare and that he thought she'd want to see it. Bianca inspects the gun closely, noticing that the serial number has been filed off, the typical tactic to hide its origins. Terrorists aren't entirely stupid, she comments, her tone dry. Suddenly, a news alert on the nearby television catches their attention, showing the shocking assassination of Manfred Fest, the Foutrunner for German Chancellor, in Germany. In the next scene, we return to Germany, specifically Nuremberg, where we learn that Rolf has taken a rental property, allowing him to remain unnoticed. Meanwhile, the movie shifts to London, where Bianca, the MI6 agent, heads home after a long day at work. As she walks through her door, she's greeted by her husband, named Paul, who is watching TV. The news is covering a segment on Aldag Charles, a tech billionaire known as UDC, who has recently made waves with his mysterious new software, River. As they sit together, Bianca becomes absorbed by the news, specifically wanting updates on the assassination of Manfred Fest. Her husband, however, seems more interested in the UDC story. Meanwhile, the news on the assassination comes through, reporting that Manfred Fest was shot by a sniper, and it remains unclear if authorities have identified a suspect. Just then, Bianca's daughter, Jasmine, enters, and Bianca quickly shifts to mom mode, asking about her day at school. Jasmine reminds her about the parent-teacher evening scheduled for the following night, and Bianca promises to be there. In this tense scene, we see Rolf, now fully confirmed as the assassin, reaching the German-French border. As he arrives, he pulls up to a checkpoint where border patrol officers are closely examining every vehicle. One of the officers approaches and asks for Rolf's passport. Calm and collected, Rolf hands it over, striking up casual small talk about how it's unusual to be asked for a passport between Germany and France. Rolf thanks him and drives off, successfully crossing into France without raising further suspicion. Rolf resumes his journey, now safely beyond German jurisdiction, with his assassin identity still hidden. The next morning, Bianca arrives at work, prepared to dive into the investigation of the Fest assassination. As she steps out of the elevator, the scene is bustling with activity phones ringing, people moving swiftly. Bianca heads straight to her colleague, demanding the latest updates on the Fest shooting. Her colleague hands her a report that's just been completed. The details are staggering. The sniper took a single, precise shot from an astounding distance of 3,815 meters. Bianca immediately reacts, incredulous. That can't be right, she says, pointing out that the record for a confirmed sniper kill is 3,540 meters, set in Ukraine in 2023. Her colleague reassures her that it's the confirmed distance, noting how precise the German investigators are. Just as she's processing the information, Bianca learns a meeting about the assassination is underway, one she feels she should be attending, especially given her expertise in sniper tactics. Inside the meeting room, Werner Lechner, a representative from German intelligence, briefs the team on the aftermath of the assassination. He details the unrest and violence that followed, with arson attacks on mosques in major cities and riots breaking out. Werner explains the need for international support, emphasizing that they are not assuming the sniper's nationality and remain open to any intel from foreign partners. When asked about the shot's confirmed distance, Werner reaffirms the 3,815 meters, an impressive feat. The team questions whether the weapon was left behind, but Werner informs them that no rifle was recovered, which means the sniper likely carried it away. He shows footage of the suspect leaving the apartment building less than 3 minutes after firing, carrying a small bag that could barely fit a broken-down sniper rifle. Bianca scrutinizes the footage, pointing out that the bag's dimensions, less than 60 centimeters, wouldn't fit even the shortest sniper rifle barrels available, such as the TAC-50 or the Denel. She concludes that if the sniper took the rifle with him, the weapon itself must have been custom-made, with a two-part barrel, something almost unheard of. Bianca mentions Norman Stoke, a Northern Irish gunmaker who's been rumored to be working on such a design for years. He's been wanted since a high-profile assassination in Stockholm in 2018 and remains on the run. Bianca argues that Stoke's expertise could be crucial to their case, as he might be the only person capable of creating a rifle for such a shot. Her superiors are skeptical, but she insists, asserting that Stoke's knowledge could lead them to the assassin. The scene shifts back to Rolf, the assassin, who is now in Paris. He steps into a car, and with a casual bonjour to the driver, he requests to go to Gare du Nord, indicating he's on the move once again. Meanwhile, at MI6 headquarters, Bianca is called into a private discussion with a superior. Her superior begins with a light-hearted remark, noting how flattering it is that German intelligence is seeking their help on this case. She adds that it would be quite ironic if the gunmaker involved, suspected to be behind the weapon used to kill Manfred Fest, turns out to be British. When asked how she plans to track Stoke down, Bianca reveals that she has an asset in Belfast, codenamed Sparrow. She's confident this asset can provide leads to find Stoke, if he's indeed connected to the Fest assassination. In Paris, we see Rolf at Gare du Nord. He navigates through the station. He soon finds a quiet corner in an internet cafe. Pulling out a memory stick, he inserts it into a computer and logs into a dark web platform known as Darkcore, a hub he uses for covert communications and assignments. He begins to type, noting an invoicing from Munich message, and stands by as he awaits a response. While Rolf awaits confirmation, we shift to Belfast, where Bianca's husband, Paul, answers a phone call from her. She's calling from the airport, and he immediately notes that she's likely missing their daughter's parent-teacher evening. Bianca apologizes, explaining she's just landed in Belfast for an urgent meeting, but promises to try her best to catch the last flight home. Back in Paris, Rolf receives a new message through Darkcore. The sender instructs him to check his account within 24 hours. Moments later, another message appears, offering him an additional assignment. The sender tempts him with a lucrative bonus, 10 million euros if he accepts. After some hesitation, Rolf finally agrees to the job and to meet. Meanwhile, Bianca arrives at a supermarket in Belfast to meet her contact, Alison, a woman with a complicated past linked to Norman Stoke. She warns that if her husband, Larry, discovered her talking to Bianca, he'd be furious. Bianca, unfazed, steers the conversation back to her mission, pressing Alison for information on Larry's brother, Norman. Alison resists, deflecting with skeptical remarks about Bianca's single-minded focus on her career and lack of family, but Bianca persists, reminding her that helping find Norman is crucial. Reluctantly, Alison agrees, promising to reach out once she has more information. Returning to Rolf in Paris, he receives confirmation of his payment for the meeting. As the station announcements continue in the background, he finishes his task, removes the memory stick, and exits the internet cafe. At night, Bianca finally returns home. As she enters, she lets out a sigh, exhausted from the long day, and then dials her contact, Alison, only to reach her voicemail. After the beep, she leaves a message. She hangs up, only to realize her daughter, Jasmine, has been standing nearby, overhearing part of the conversation. Turning her attention to her daughter, Bianca's face softens. "Look, baby, I'm so sorry," she says, her tone filled with regret, "about parents' evening." Jasmine gives a small nod, her expression hinting at disappointment, but she doesn't push the issue. At Lake Malare in Sweden with Rolf driving. After he meets with a woman who discreetly approaches him, and they exchange an intense conversation. Rolf, suspicious, asks if she came alone, and she confirms. She names his target, Dag Charles, also known as UDC. Rolf notes the job's high risk and names an extravagant price 10 times the initial figure she offered. After a brief negotiation, she says she consult her colleagues about the cost before finalizing the agreement. After their meeting, we shift to Bianca, who tries to reach out to Alison through a call, highlighting an important missed communication. She immediately requests details on Alison's daughter, Emma, initiating an investigation. The next day, Bianca observes a loud protest where a crowd chants UDC and demands the truth about money while protesting financial corruption. Emma, among the protesters, is singled out by the police for causing an obstruction. Despite her objections and criticism of authorities protecting fat cats, she's forcibly arrested. At the station, police accuse her of injuring an officer by throwing a bottle, claiming there are witnesses, and emphasizing the officer's severe injury. Emma denies the accusation, demands a solicitor, and calls out the police's accusations as fabricated. At the end, Emma asks to call her mother only, but she insists to have solicitor. The movie shifts between two intense storylines. Rolf arrives in Cadiz, Spain, to surprise his girlfriend, Nuria. Meanwhile, back at the station, Emma, previously arrested, attempts to end her life. She's found barely alive, and paramedics rush to save her. Bianca arrives and takes Emma at the hospital, devastated but hopeful as doctors work to revive Emma. The day of the Jackal Season 1, Episode 1 ends with Rolf attempting to contact an anonymous associate through the dark web to demand payment for a prior job in Munich. Instead, he receives a hostile, indicating betrayal. Simultaneously, Bianca anxiously fights to save Emma's life as the screen fades, promising more twists in the day of the Jackal Season 1, Episode 2.